Let's talk about the heart of humanity, specifically the heart of humanity in every individual. So I used to think that it was my duty, still is, my duty to examine history, examining what's happening in the world, and examine spirituality in a way that sees human suffering, that in every way, throughout history, throughout time, and all the ways a human being can be deluded and encounter illusion. That is still true. And that is still my duty. But what I've realized recently is that the heart of humanity is something that we all have that can be contacted in various ways. I'll give examples. So, a coworker once asked me, I was listening to an audiobook about the Holocaust, and I was reading a book at the time as well. And I said, I'm listening to an audiobook about the Holocaust. And when he asked me what I was listening to, he said, why? And then another example is when I was studying what happened after the United States dropped a bomb on Hiroshima, a nuclear bomb, and how a little boy he was not an immediate blast, but rescue workers went to go and, try to rescue people, try to help them as much as they could. And there's this little boy, infant, crying out for his mother, mom, mom, mom. And then when the rescue worker went to go and grab him, and, he turned up and said, can you take me to my mommy? And then that rescue worker grabbed him. And then when she did, tried to pick him up, all of his skin slid off. Another example, when Napoleon invaded Russia, he didn't work out so well in, to make a long story short, it didn't work out well. And when he was retreating, there was a number of people left behind when a bridge blew up. So before a bridge blew up, there was this woman holding a baby to her breast, and asked a French colonel, can bring my baby back, bring my baby back to life. And obviously couldn't, and he crossed the bridge, and the bridge was blown, and then he saw her on the other side of the river, and she was still holding that baby to her breast, and eventually a Russian Cossack blew her brains out. How can I examine all these things and things that are happening now without being like, okay, I can't take it? Or perhaps, oh, I gotta think more positively. This is making me depressed. Let me go think about something else. So for a long time, I thought to myself, and I still think this. It's just it's more developed now, but we'll get to that. It's my duty to see what humanity has gone through and to try to figure out a solution. Even if I can't do anything about it, I have to experience it by analyzing history and people, understand that pain, and perhaps even feel that pain myself, not inflicting on me physically, but emotionally, in order for their pain to matter, their pain to not be forgotten. So recently, I've started to feel that that's part of it, but that's not the whole story. I feel like there's this secret heart, or maybe the true heart in humanity, that no matter what information you take in, no matter what you see, if it ties into your compassion, if it sparks your compassion, if it makes you feel that connection to humanity. The bad was never good. All these things shouldn't have happened. But if they did, and since they did, feeling that touches that deep compassion within me as a person. And, you know, I think that a lot of people will be like, okay, well, this is very sad. I don't want to think about this. That was me many years ago. But then I started to understand this feeling, understand this experience, and I started to realize that either I could transform the sadness, or I accepted the sadness, or I found a route to compassion that enhanced my heart, that allowed my heart to just feel what it is to be human with these people, with that information. Definitely not exactly. I'm sure I don't feel exactly what they felt, but my human heart, I'm no longer drugged down by sadness, though it's sad. I'm no longer infuriated, but it is infuriating. I feel the compassion in my heart of hearts, even when I analyze these details, even when I examine these details throughout history and what's happening around the world right now. Starvation, things like that, war. It's hard. It's a hard feeling to nail down because it's not happy, and I feel like it's making use of sadness. You see this and you kind of want to figure out a solution, but also there's something else. There's this feeling in the heart, in the lotus of the heart, as the Hindus and Buddhists would call it, that you feel that connection to all of humanity, even through sadness, even through learning of that horror. You feel that connection in your heart to the rest of humanity. And somehow, those energetic tendons or sinews that lead to your heart energetically make your heart beat with that much more compassion. That tie to it's being tied to people who, it's beyond politics, it's beyond race. Race doesn't exist, just ethnicity maybe. But it's also, beyond time and circumstance. When you hear the little details, in your heart of hearts, if you know how to feel it, your heart can actually grow. These things shouldn't happen, but since they did, when you learn about them, if you can feel that compassion building in your chest rather than a disgust and wanting to look away from certain things that happen, I feel like your compassion as a human being can increase. But, I often say that I often display or claim that I know what I'm talking about in a lot of my videos. Right now, I'm just trying to help you understand what I'm feeling, because I've been feeling this for quite a while, but I felt comfortable enough to talk about it in this video because I feel like I have more details now. But I've been feeling this for a long time. It's almost like tying into everyone else's heart, whether, even their sadness increases my compassion for everyone else. I don't know how that sounds. I don't know if it sounds stupid or ridiculous, but that's the best way I can describe it. And the greatest power in the multiverse, that's more powerful than anything else, because I would say everything else is an illusion. The most powerful thing is love. That might sound very corny. It might sound like, a Christmas tale or something like that. But if you really understand love, when you cut past everything else, that is the most powerful thing in the universe. Everything else is a stopgap measure. Everything else is temporary. Everything else is illusion. But if you feel that thing behind the sadness that I feel, understand that the heart of compassion is love. That's what it is. Now, love is unconquerable, undefinable, and for some people, irrelevant because it is the fabric of emotion itself. But don't always turn away. Sometimes looking at what was and what is, even if everything's illusion, there's a seed in your heart that grows when you feel compassion for everyone else who has gone through other things. And if we can chop down those barriers between, time, space, race, politics, all of the things that ultimately are irrelevant, then right behind that is the greatest power in the universe, love. A lot of people watching this that watch my videos are not gonna really feel like this video says anything that, maybe your average Buddhist monk might say, something like that. But I think that what I'm trying to convey is that I'm starting to feel that even in sadness, even when I feel like I must learn, which I feel like I do, even that sadness, behind it is love. And that sadness can help you, pierce, contact, and inflame your heart for the rest of humanity. Maybe even nature itself, all life forms. It's there. We just have to dive in and not be afraid of being suffocated by the sadness, because it can feel suffocating. And if you can't do it, if you can't look at all these details in modern times or history, you feel like you can't do it, then don't do it. You're not ready for the deep end. But when you're finally ready for the deep end, dive in and see if you feel that same thing in your heart that I feel. And when I say heart, I'm pointing, to where I think my heart is. The lotus of the heart and the heart chakra is kind of in the center on the solar plexus. But those are, quantifiable things and based on belief systems. But what is not is that feeling of love that is just behind the sadness. If you can take in information, absorb it, and look behind the sadness, feel behind the sadness, and you can feel that person's pain, and it doesn't make you depressed. What it does is it makes you feel more human. It makes you love them in a way that their name, their place, their race couldn't. If you can do that with all of history and everything that's happening now, I think that your light will grow. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video at all, hit that thumbs up down there. Feel free to share this video wherever you want. Feel free to subscribe. And all of you, find that place in your heart of hearts and have a wonderful day.